Nice.
There, now we're getting the countdown. One more check. Real.
Get the buttons.
What they been waiting for.
It's gonna be kind of very close.
Yeah.
Tell you that much.
Just speed on my way.
Talk a little so Patrick can hear you while you're.
Huh?
Just tell us your drive to work.
Patrick, if you can hear me, you're a bum. Wow.
Be funny if you can respond.
He just yells when he This camera's working, yeah?
I can hear everybody.
Oh, they.
We are streaming.
Alright.
We may start the production. Yeah, sounds like the audio's good.
Ready then?
I guess so. Hello everybody, welcome to Animation Alive. I'm your host Joshua Malgar. Animation Alive is just basically taking different trailers of video games and other media and breaking it down to maybe to a live production. I have a guest here. Today my guest is Ethan.
How's it going?
Doing good, how about you?
Not too bad.
So I guess here's my one question. What do you know about like just video games just in general or in trailers about them?
Well, I've only ever really watched the trailers for a lot of the larger companies like Bethesda, EA, Fancy, whatever, and a lot like they're all obviously very high production. So I've seen a good share of what you would come to expect from a larger game and manufacturer and the quality of video that you would expect.
You ready to break some down?
So for me, probably the most popular game that I myself play is Overwatch. It's an FPS that came out in 2016 from Blizzard, and a lot of their success came from how they marketed their game. Of course, they had prior success with games like Hearthstone, but with Overwatch, the sheer amount of talent that they recruited, not only in the voice acting, but the animation was incredible. Like, it's really smooth, the storyline is complex and compelling, yet not difficult to follow, and like every time that they would release a cinematic trailer, it was something that the community would get really excited for.
Alright, now let's go to the first video and let's see if we can break it down. I guess what stands out to you, the first thing that stands out to you?
Well, it's a lot of times what you'll see is they kind of ease you into it, and like they don't often do what they did there, which was immediately get into the meat of it, give it that really dramatic effect with just short clips, fades out into another really dramatic clip, and it does that for the first 10 seconds or so, and kind of gives you an idea of the intense action that you can come to expect from it, which that gets a lot of people excited.
Yeah, I would say one of my favorite parts is towards the end is with the close-up of the eyes showing like the attention, the detail of the blood. Same thing with when he's about to shoot the soldier that was on the ground.
Yeah.
Those are probably one of my two favorite shots.
100%, yeah. The atmosphere that they were able to create with just a few simple shots was amazing. You don't see that too often where it just gets that heavy that quick.
It's kind of hard to recreate that.
It is, yeah. It's also not easy to pull off, which is why a lot of companies don't do it. Because if they don't do it right, then it'll just look like crap.
Yeah, that's why a lot of them just stick with the animation than try
Yeah.
to do it live.
Exactly.
It costs probably way less for them doing something like that, and it would give the same effect of them trying to do something live.
Right. And for that, as far as bringing it from being animated to live action, it would, at least that first part would be quite possible if you've ever seen action movies, especially along the lines of any of the like movies with James Bond or Mission Impossible. Those are obviously very action-heavy movies, and they focus a lot and gain a lot of success off of the angles that they pull. Like in that, the one I'm thinking of mainly is the helicopter scene,
Yeah.
where it was just a quick clip of them, which looked like they were going down. You know, you could see smoke in the background. They were bracing for impact, and you know, I keep saying it, but it's just the best way to describe it is very intense, and it grabs your attention.
Yeah, it's a very attention grabber.
Yeah.
I enjoy that. Let's take a look at the second video.
We are ghosts. We aren't afraid of death.
Something that I feel like this illustrated better than that first short clip was the fact that they really commit to the quality that they go to, rather than how some companies will, you know, lean into ragdoll effects. With this, the whole flow seems much more natural. Like when they jumped out of the car before it ran into the tanks.
Yeah.
The way that the one guy showed rolling, that wasn't just, you know, like him getting tossed around like a sack of potatoes. It was exactly how you would think it would go for a real person.
Another thing I noticed was the lighting. I feel like it's more natural light than actually like studio lights, because you can feel like the intensity of the lights and seeing like the different shades and the shadows
Yeah.
than compared to like if it was just a studio light.
Yeah, there was a lot of different points of contrast within the entire scene, where it's safest to stick to around 2 or 3. That's already enough to handle on its own, but initially, you know, once they got around that first corner, you could see like 4 or 5 different very clear points of contrast in lighting, which I found interesting that they decided to go with that. Of course, with live action, that would be much harder to pull off than with
Also, one thing with
correct.
it is the cameras that they used. They're not just having just a standard camera. You would have to have a drone and maybe a GoPro to get some of the shots that you need.
Right, and obviously in that segment we saw there were drones, so it would be very easy to pull that off and make it completely natural. And like you said, you know, you would probably want a couple of GoPros stationed around the roll cage of the car, and it would be really easy to conceal. It's just another part of it.
Was another part that I noticed was, if you watch the full video, the transitions are very unique compared, like you were mentioning earlier about the smoke and how it transitioned to the next scene. They do that through the whole video, different transition, not just sticking to just one, having different ones and actually working.
Right, and they use the motion just of the scene to work towards their advantage, as far as using that to become the transition. A good example is if you've seen a movie or a TV show where a character is walking directly at the camera, it comes right into their chest, and then when it zooms out, it's them walking away. Something like that. Like they use that with the car, where it went around, the car took up the whole screen, and then you could see the back of it going. except from a different angle. Very easy, yet very effective, and also not very commonly used.
Yeah, it's not very common. Well, let's take a break and let's go to the commercial. Two batteries, a bag, two sets of extra wings, and the battery charger. One of the features that you can do in the minifig is hyperlapse. Hyperlapse is basically where the drone will take a bunch of pictures and make it into a video that's fast paced. Which as the next mode you can use includes rocket, servo, helix, boomerang, and astro. Master Shot is another good tool to use. It combines everything that is in QuickShot minus the asteroid and makes it into a really cool shot. Some of the modes that you can find here are single, 48 MP, AEB, and time shots. In conclusion, I would recommend the DJI 3 Mini Pro to someone who is starting to get into drone, want to take their photo and video to the next level, and click that. And with that, happy flying. Back to the show now.
Very nice.
Yes, it was. Alright, let's get to the final clip.
When you take the life of my brothers, when you provoke me, it doesn't matter how powerful you are, I will burn your world to the ground. I'm a ghost too. I would expect nothing less.
It's really hard for me to believe that, so much of this is animated. It looks amazing. The quality is incredible.
It's more like cinematic than anything.
Yeah.
That's what they were going for when
It
they were
really is.
making this.
Yeah.
Yeah, one of the things I liked about it was when they were going through the ending. It's like a little dolly shot, but just sped up quicker, just to get each shot, and then each time he removes like a part of his like mask, just to reveal who
Yeah.
he is.
Right. Yeah, no, that was just very intense and dramatic the entire time. Just only showing part of him, making you want to see the whole face, but they kept on teasing it until the end there. Which is
Yeah.
very clever. It really grabs your attention.
Well, yeah, it does. So thank you for joining my show.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks, Ethan.
All right.
And next time we'll be talking about a different trip. Bye.
That commercial didn't really hear anything. But the mic in here is sounding really good. We're getting really good audio.
So I don't
live.
know. I don't know what happened because I know my video did have both the music and the.
Yeah, I can just hear a very little bit of you talking.
That's kind of
Are you
weird.
guys doing a rehearsal or, are you doing a rehearsal or?
No, we're live.
Okay.
I'm gonna go.
All right, have a good day at work, get late at work.
Right. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, yeah, just watch those and make sure you test it good before you leave the class.
Hi, and welcome to Nintendo Power Review. I'm here for my second episode, which will be about the Nintendo GameCube. It was the successor to the last one, the Nintendo 64 that I did on, and it released it in 2001, which is a few years after the Nintendo 64. Some pros for the Nintendo 64, or the GameCube, is that its controller has been one of the best releases of any of the Nintendo franchises. The Wii and the Switch controllers have been all right, but a lot of people prefer the GameCube version of that controller. A lot of the ideas they had for the GameCube were kind of experimentals, like Sunshine, Mario Sunshine, and Wind Waker. They tried to do some different things, not the normal, from what they were doing on the Nintendo 64. So a lot of the GameCube games looked vastly different from their predecessors. When the GameCube came out, for the most part, it was not reviewed very well. There was only a few games out, so a lot of reviewers were not very impressed with the game selection, but as the years went on and more games came out, they started to get more impressed with it, so the reviews on the GameCube started to go up, but it didn't start out that amazingly for the GameCube. But as now that we're done with talking about that, we'll be going to our sponsor for this week, which is MSPN Racing on YouTube. They do weekly diecast videos at 6 p.m. on Thursday or Friday, and their series right now is NASMARB, and it's headed into its 7th out of 8 week with the playoffs coming up shortly. So here's a collection of what's been showing on the channel.
Murakami and Raymond Drizel. Drizel's got the lead bouncing off the walls a little bit, trying to keep it straight, and there goes the 4 at the last moment to make the pass. And Murakami with a 1-0 lead. That's just some good driving there. Kept it straight, kept the speed going, and made the pass on Drizel.
You gotta get the camera back up. And there was our ad break for NASMARB. Now that we've gotten through that, we are able to go to the best part of our video showcase, which is the video games that are on the GameCube. I think that this selection of games were pretty pivotal to the GameCube releases, some of their best games on the thing. So here they are. We have 6 games on there. was Super Mario Sunshine, which was the predecessor to the last one I showed, which was Super Mario 64, which was one of the best games on the Nintendo 64. Sunshine was well reviewed, but it definitely has one of the weirdest plot lines of any Mario games, where Mario goes on a lowland trip to a new island and has to gather a high-powered water item to get rid of the paint graffiti all over the town. So it was a pretty good game, but definitely one of the weirder ones. So not as amazing as Super Mario 64 was, but definitely a great addition to the series. The next one was the Mario Kart Double Dash for after the installment of a game something. But it's the only Mario Kart game that ended up adding a second driver to it, which has never come back. But you were able to. This is one of the first games where you were able to store two separate items if you had your driver in the front collect it, and then you could swap drivers, and the other one could pick up an extra item. That has been the only time since Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, which we'll talk on further on, that added a secondary item. But for Mario Kart games, this is when they started to add character stats to all of them. So it's not they're just carbon copies. There's actually kind of a tier list, and it kind of matters who you actually end up choosing. But the next one on the list, Zelda Wind Waker, it was very mixed reviewed because from Ocarina and Majora that were on the Nintendo 64, they were kind of like a two-package deal, right after each other. But Wind Waker was a vastly different change in development. There was a different type of design to it. It looked more comic book-like than how the other two look, and it completely changed how the game was played because it flooded the entire world, so everything was islands and you were boating around to new areas. So people were kind of mixed when it came out, but after time, people have started to like it a lot more than when it initially came out. And another one on there was Luigi's Mansion. That was a pretty huge game. It was one of the first ones that came out on the GameCube, and it finally gave Luigi a star in the spotlight after everything before. He's always just been the second player option, but it was pretty big for his character because it added a whole new side of him to his ghost catching adventures and making him more into a scaredy cat. And it also added Egad, one of the side characters there, who made the Poltergeist 3000, which is what he uses to catch ghosts, which actually made a cameo in Super Mario Sunshine. But the last one there was the new Mario Party 6 on the GameCube. I personally think it was a very, very good addition to the series. It improved on the Orb franchise that they had from the 5th game, so they kind of just made it better by adding better orbs to it and how they worked a lot better. But the main gimmick to that game was a day and a night cycle. So in the daytime, there was certain specific events that would happen that would change the map, and then during the nighttime it would alter other things so that it changed it up. But the final clip on there was the famous one from Smash Melee, the Wombo combo, where it was a duos tournament, and they got an insane combo where they were able to stun lock the remaining one guy into a 0 to death combo where he just couldn't do anything, and the commentators went insane about it. So that's one of the best moments from Melee. It is the second of 5 in the Smash Bros. Franchise, but a lot of people kind of view it better than the later releases that came out. A lot of people are very big fans of Melee, so it could be a pretty good one. But that was all for our six videos that we had there, and we'll be moving on to the Wii next episode for some new Wii games coming out. But that has been my review on the GameCube and the great games that they've had.
Hi, welcome to episode 2 of Ways and Means to Eliminate Stress. In today's episode, we will dive into one of the ways and means to eliminate stress, which is consciously getting out in nature. Whether you're walking, sitting, or standing out in nature, it can be beneficial to step outside. It helps in living a balanced, calm life, being more kind, giving a new perspective to things, and living gentleness and so forth. You may ask, what do I mean when I say consciously getting out in nature? What I mean by that is going out in nature with intention. By telling yourself, I am intending to go out in nature to eliminate stress by applying this way to do so. The way I'm about to share, I practiced about 18 years or so ago, and it worked excellent for me. So what you do is, when you step out in nature, notice your senses. For example, notice what you see up close and from far away, such as the trees or the sky. Notice what you hear, such as the sounds near or far off in the distance, such as birds chirping or your breath. Next, you want to notice what you smell, such as flowers, or such as flowers. I can't think of anything else at this moment. Next is your sense of touch. So notice your feet touching the earth, or the air caressing your face, or even being aware of empty space, such as serenity or the joy that you might feel while you're noticing everything. Never judge what you observe, what you notice. For example, an example of a judgment would be, boy, that tree is really rotting and it's probably filled with lots of bugs. I remember the last time I had a spider on me and it grossed me out. Or that smells so bad, it reminds me of so-and-so. You don't want to do that. You don't want to be in the chatty mind. You don't want your attention on the thinking mind and its stories, because we know the thinking mind has tons of stories, right? So just remain focused on what you notice in that very moment, in the present moment. If you're with a friend or with someone, refrain from speaking. As much as the need to talk comes in, allow yourself to be in silence, noticing what you're observing through the senses. And a very important thing to mention is cell phones. Many are addicted to cell phones. If possible, leave it in the car or leave it inside somewhere. Cell phones keep us tied to the world and the thinking mind, which is not our purpose in being outside in nature. We want to eliminate as many distractions as possible that keep our minds busy and chatty. Okay, so you're ready. Your phone's in your car or indoors. You've set your intention that you're going out into nature to really notice your senses because you want to be calm. You want to feel better than what you are. And you notice that need to take action for yourself. You're outside, you're walking. Now walk at a slow pace. If you're sitting down, sit straight up with your spine straight. Having your spine away from the back is best, because that doesn't, so then you're not, you could possibly fall asleep. So then if you're standing, you want to stand with the spine straight and with the shoulders back and the chest out is the best from what I have discovered. Now take one sense at a time. For example, we'll start with the sense of sound. You can start with whatever sense you want, or in any order, it doesn't matter, and have a one-pointed focus on that sense of sound for at least 3 minutes. Don't strain, just observe. If you do this, it will immediately stop the chatty mind. Do this for all of your senses for 3 minutes each. If all you have time for is, say, 1 minute, then focus on just one sense for that 1 minute. If at any time your attention wanders off to the thinking mind, which happens, say what you're gonna make for dinner or what schoolwork that needs to be done, or what somebody said that hurt your feelings or upset you or whatever. Gently bring your attention back to what sound that you're noticing, the sounds of the birds or the wind, and never ever judge yourself. Just be gentle. To give you a visual of what I'm talking about, I created a little fun video, and we're gonna take a look at that now.
Bro, whenever I was with Wax, like literally he made me so mad I was about to scream. Like it made me stressed out like the whole night.
Yeah, I know. He's so annoying. Like he never builds up. Like
I know, I was like stressed the whole entire night that time. Bro, I was like last night it was crazy because my friend Gabe, he was literally like I was saying to crank 90s up to him and he wasn't. Like yeah, I know. And my
So helpful to get out in nature, away from your environment, and really help give you a reset. Giving you a different perspective in life, feeling ready to handle anything that comes your way, and to live more at ease and present, which is what we want, right? If you're consistent with this, it really does help. It really helps to be a good observer as well. It helps with the way that you observe. It strengthens that, and to have the capacity to focus, to have a focus of attention. I hope you find this helpful and enjoy all that may unfold and reveal itself through your consistent practice. Your experience will be unique for you. We will now end with a commercial break. See you in episode 3, where I talk about another tool that offers a ways and means to eliminate stress. Until next time, be good to yourself. Timers or stopwatches are very handy when it comes to the days that you want to have some alone time, but yet you do not want the distraction of your cell phone. You can use a battery-operated timer or a stopwatch. They're very handy, so then you can get back to whatever it is you need to get back to on time. I suggest getting a timer. It alleviates that temptation of when you have your cell phone on you. You're not tempted to go on your cell phone, and really give yourself that quality time with whatever it is that you're doing, whether you're out in nature or sitting by the water or gardening or whatever it is that you're doing for time that's that quality time for yourself.
Alright then. Intro. Yeah. Hear it.
What is up, everybody in the underground metal scene? Welcome to It Came From Underground. I'm your host, Logan Stick. This is a broadcast show where I do quick reviews of singles, EPs, and albums from metal bands that are not completely well known but are starting to get a name for themselves. Once again, I am your host, Logan Stick, and do we have an episode for you all? But first, It Came From Underground would like to give a quick shout out to our sponsor for this episode. As you see, this episode of It Came From Underground is brought to you by Tonebridge Guitar Effects. If you are a guitarist and you want to play some of your favorite songs with the actual original guitar tones, Tonebridge will help make that dream of yours come true. Tonebridge allows guitarists to use the original guitar sounds of iconic songs within just a millisecond. All you have to do is plug in your guitar on your iPhone, iPad, or computer, open up the app itself, and get ready for the rocking experience. The Tonebridge Guitar Effects app is free, and it can be found on the App Store and Google Play with absolutely no in-app purchases. Now, alright then, now that we're done with giving a shout out to the sponsors of today's episodes, I'll give you guys a heads up of what will be reviewed for this episode. Kind of like in the first episode, I'm going to be doing a quick review of 2 singles and 1 album. Spoiler alert, all the bands I'm reviewing is deathcore. Spoiler alert. So without further ado, let's get started with the first single. Alright. The first picture. Alright then, the first single that I'm going to be reviewing is the latest single from Earthsun titled Reborn. To anyone who isn't familiar with this band, Earthsun is a one-man slamming deathcore band from Russia that started putting out music since 2021. And that year he has put out only 2 singles, Apocalyptic Swarm and MIR, which is an acronym for Made in Russia. This new single is the first piece of new music from this band in 2 years, and honestly, this definitely was worth the wait. Reborn is definitely a fitting title for this track because it definitely showcases Earthsun slightly moving away from the beatdown elements that the first 2 singles have, in favor of a more straightforward deathcore sound. There are some riffs on this track that are a bit more technical, but they are absolutely super catchy, and that breakdown at the very end is like super heavy. And there's even some experimentation with the vocals that are layered over the main vocals. I don't know if the vocalist is doing the prayer style Gorgon vocals like or tonal third highs like, but either way, they sound amazing. I really did dig this track a lot, and if you've been following Earthsun since the very beginning, just like what I did, you definitely won't be disappointed. I definitely wasn't disappointed myself, so yeah, definitely check it out.
Alright then, now the next single that I will be reviewing is going to be the debut single from Scar Injection titled Resentment. Scar Injection, for anyone who doesn't know, is a deathcore band from Japan. They are starting completely fresh and new with this single so far, and this track is absolutely one heck of a debut. This track...
Go back. Wait, what back? Go back. Keep playing.
It's done.
Oh,
That was it.
that was it.
You can go.
Anyway, sorry about the technical difficulty, but the next single that I'm reviewing is the debut single from Scar Injection titled Resentment. Scar Injection, for anyone who isn't familiar with this band, they are a deathcore band from Japan. They started completely fresh and new with this single, and so far, and this track is absolutely one heck of a debut. This track is 2 minutes and 51 seconds of some of the heaviest and most punishing deathcore with glitchy, chopped up, chugging guitars that will bludgeon your ear holes from beginning to end, and vocals that are absolutely from beginning to end, and vocals that are absolutely guttural and inhuman sounding. There's even some keyboards that are scattered in the background in some parts of this track, which helps add an almost futuristic vibe with the song, which I really do enjoy. Now, in case you guys are wondering why there was a Powerpuff Girls version of me in that animation, it's because there's actually a music video for this song that can be found on Slam Worldwide, and it features clips from the Powerpuff Girls. So if you're someone who loves Cartoon Network like myself, and you're also a metalhead, then this is definitely the best one for you. This is definitely the best deathcore that I've heard since the Psycho Frame EP that I reviewed in the last episode. Alright then, now, last but not least, I'm going to be reviewing the album for this episode. And the album that I'm going to be reviewing is the latest full-length album from Human Instrumentality Project titled LCLC, released May 20th of this year. Now, to anyone who isn't familiar with Human Instrumentality Project, they are a slamming deathcore band hailing from China. A lot of their music and overall aesthetic has been heavily inspired by the popular anime and manga series that's known as Neon Genesis Evangelion. They released a debut EP back in 2021 titled The Brutal Angel Synthesis, and this album is a follow-up to that EP. Honestly, I prefer this record. It's good, but I didn't enjoy it as much as the EP because the EP was a little more straightforward and straight to the point. It was more slamming deathcore with some symphonic elements. This album has a little bit more like influences scattered here and there. Like there's some like deathcore, obviously, some symphonic elements, some soundtracks, and there's even some metalcore influence, especially on the song "You Are Not Alone," which features the vocalist of some band from New York. And there's some really nice features like that song, as well as a cover of Fly Me to the Moon, which features the vocalist for the legendary anime slam band Dehumanizing Eat a Train Worship. So yeah, just like what I said, this album was really good, but I didn't love it as much as I did the last EP. But if you're someone who likes bands like the aforementioned Dehumanizing Eat a Train Worship or Brand of Sacrifice, then this EP is this album is definitely for you. So yeah, definitely check this out. Alright then, that pretty much wraps up this episode of It Came From Underground. If you enjoyed this episode, then subscribe to DMT NWTC and hit the bell for more content. My name is Logan Sick, and you just watched It Came From Underground. And as always, hope you guys enjoyed this episode. And if you did, subscribe and everything. My name is Logan Stick. Have a nice day. And as always, keep it metal.